do I have a lot of explaining to do, don't I? Yes, I know it's been quite some time since I've last updated the Backyardigans episode, Pups Save the Backyardigans, but a whole lot has come by in the past few months that really kept me away from my computer for some time. No, it wasn't anything bad or anything, just a crap ton more work that had to be done, as well as some continuity errors that needed to be fixed, whether in each episode or just in the main canon of the show. With that said, there are some rather positive changes that we've made for the show, which I'll make sure to mention here. For one, Austin's age has officially been bumped up from 7 to 9 years old, so there's one. The reason for the change was because of the fact that keeping Austin only 7 years old in the series would have not only been a bit odd, but also rather, well, inaccurate too. Especially after doing a little bit of basic math for each of the characters' ages by adding up around 4 years for each character, and adding at least one extra year for the series itself. So it's official. Austin is now 9 years old instead of 7. Another major update that we brought into the show was the main episode listing itself. We added a few newer episodes for season 1 of the show to kind of space everything out in a way that wouldn't seem as if everything just gobbled together in one big old mess. We wanted everything, as mentioned before, to be spaced out as well as giving the characters that the season was focusing on a lot more time for some proper character development as well. Now, before I actually get into the new episode listing itself, there's one final major update that the staff and crew had officially decided on that would help make the series and episodes a lot more interesting and a little bit more real, in a figurative sense that is. For each and every season of the show that we work on in the future, each one of them will revolve on one of the main characters. For Season 1, we decided that Austin would be our primary focus of the season itself. Season 2 would focus on Pablo, Season 3 would focus on Tyrone, Season 4 on Uniqua, and Season 5 on Tasha. So in total, there'd be about 5 seasons of the show altogether, although I've heard rumors from a few staff members that the show might even possibly go on for 6 seasons, with the 6th season focusing on all the characters altogether. However, this one hasn't been confirmed yet. So now that I've mentioned that and got all that out of the way, here's a brand new list of the episodes that will now be a part of Season 1. Season 1, Episode 1, Forrest Gruff. Season 1, Episode 2, Say Uncle. Season 1, Episode 3, 13th Birthday, which most likely won't be in the series. Season 1, Episode 4, The Skull Bully. Season 1, Episode 5, Be My Valentine. Season 1, Episode 6, Nightmare on Backyard Street. Season 1, Episode 7, Psycho Penguin. Season 1, Episode 8, Pups Save the Backyardigans Part 1. Season 1, Episode 9, Pups Save the Backyardigans Part 2. Season 1, Episode 10, The Backyardigans Get Loud. Season 1, Episode 11, Roofest, a newer episode that we thought of. Season 1, Episode 12, Robot Rampage 2, Part 1. Season 1, Episode 13, Robot Rampage 2, Part 2. Season 1, Episode 14, Mark's Revenge. Season 1, Episode 15, I Can't Change. Season 1, Episode 16, The Backyardigans. Season 1, Episode 16, or in this case 17, Metal on Mars. Season 1, Episode 18, Ghost Hunters. Season 1, Episode 19, Knights of the Square Table. Season 1, Episode 20, Meatloaf Catastrophe. And Season 1, Episode 20, Lockdown. So far, those are the episodes that we've decided upon by the staff and crew of the show, and we're currently in the process of completing all of them, but there's still a lot more work that needs to get done, and fast. I won't bore you with any more unnecessary details about it. Let's actually finally get into part 2 of the episode. The episode starts up with the usual intro that was shown in most of the usual episodes. However, once Pablo got to his line, in the place where we belong, a large jet stream of water immediately splashed him, sending him flying off screen, with the others stopping immediately and looking on with a mixture of shock and surprise on their faces. The scene then transitioned over to the right to show the startup of the Paw Patrol theme song. However, after about 10 seconds into that intro, all of the Backyardigans, rather forcibly, pushed the scene to the left side of the screen. Upon doing that, they all continue with their theme song, up until the part where the pups began to stomp on top of the screen, smushing the intro down into a flat pancake. This continues on for about a few more moments, where the background itself becomes so pushed around and dangled and everything that it combines itself together into a mush of both the Backyardigans and the Paw Patrol intros. The main Backyardigans are on the left side of the screen, glaring angrily at the Paw Patrol pups, while the Paw Patrol group pretty much do the same on the opposite side. The two groups walk off screen before jumping back up and letting out a war cry of some sort. All of the Paw Patrol group are in their respective Pupmobiles, with gear pointing to the Backyardigans in a form of an attack, while the Backyardigans charged at them with a variety of creative melee weapons. A bat for Pablo, a chainsaw for Tyrone, a pair of bowling pins for Tasha, a rake for Uniqua, and for Austin, his powers, as usual. It's pretty much the same exact intro for the first part. Before they finally hit each other, the screen went to black, and then the music concluded. After the few seconds of blackness, the title card of the episode faded in. The title card itself showed all the Backyardigans in a giant basket, screaming as they fell down towards a forest. A faint picture of a laughing Mayor Humdinger was also in the background, near the left side of where the Backyardigans were falling at. Above the basket were the words, "Pups Save the Backyardigans Part 2, with the Paw Patrol theme music playing in the background. After about a few seconds of this title card playing, the screen faded out to black once more before cutting to the episode itself. The episode began with all the Backyardigans pretty much starting up with how they were originally started up at the ending of the first part, by falling down into the forest, with all the characters screaming their heads off as they fell. The screen then switched to a point of view to the basket itself falling down rapidly out of the air and onto a large stream that divided the forest into two separate parts. The basket then plunges deep into the water's surface, staying under for at least a good 3 seconds before the basket immediately breaks the surface of the water. The Backyardigans all immediately start coughing and choking, some even spitting out water in the process, and if honestly, if I'm thinking correctly, one of them probably even spat out a fish. It might have been Pablo, but honestly I'd have to watch the episode again to really see for sure. This lasted for a few moments before Uniqua finally decided to break the silence. "Is everyone alright?" The camera cut to show Tasha taking in one more deep breath, before finally sitting down in the damp basket floor. She then turned around to Uniqua and said, "Yeah, I'm fine, but my dress is soaked," Tasha pouted. Uniqua then turned her head over towards the others, to which the camera did the same. The view itself showed Austin and Tyrone sitting down on the floor of the basket, shaking themselves a little bit to try and dry themselves off in one way or another. "You two alright?" Uniqua asked. "Yeah, we're fine," Austin said as he shook his head violently to get the excess water off of his fur. The camera then cut to Pablo, who was, instead of sitting down on the basket floor, was instead staring out into the distance, most likely the river itself. The sound of Uniqua's voice could be heard in the background, but the scene itself still remained on the back of Pablo's, body. "Hey Pablo, are you okay?" Uniqua asked, concerned. Pablo didn't move or even say anything. This time around, the scene then cut back to Uniqua and the others looking at each other with a bit of worry. "Pablo, are you alright? Are you hurt or something?" Uniqua asked once again. This time, Pablo did say something, but it was rather quiet. I actually had to turn up the volume all the way up on my computer just to hear what he was saying. He was muttering something about something coming their way. Pablo, what was that again?" Uniqua asked. The screen then cut to Pablo's terrified face. "Damn!" The other Backyardigans gasped a little bit at that, and Austin made no hesitation to scold them for his language. "Pablo, you and I both know that you shouldn't even say words like that." Pablo then immediately turned around and began to speak. "Okay, for one, Austin, that's not what I was talking about. And two, you're being a bit of a hypocrite there, buddy. I've heard words slip out of your mouth that makes even our parents look like saints." Austin and the others just blinked at that statement, before Tasha stepped in to say something. "Oh, for goodness sake, Pablo. Like you don't use language like that yourself?" Tasha said as she crossed her arms together. Pablo grunted and then went back to looking down at the river. "So, wait a minute, Pablo," Tyrone began. "If that's not what you meant, then what exactly did you mean?" "Well, take a look for yourself," Pablo said, his voice now on the verge of an anxiety attack. The camera then cut to show all the other Backyardigans making their way over to where Pablo was standing at. The screen then showed everyone's shocked and scared expression as they stood there with their mouths agape. The scene then panned out, with shocking music to back it all up, Once to show the rest of the river, a second time to show a large waterfall with a small dam just barely blocking some of the water, and finally, one last pan out to show the entirety of the waterfall and a giant pool of water surrounding the area, not to mention the sharp and jagged rocks that studded the area down below where the waterfall ended. The scene then panned right back to the other Backyardigans, who soon began to start panicking. However, after about a minute or so, everyone, with the sole exception of Pablo that is, slowly started to calm down a little bit and come to their senses. As they relaxed, Pablo continued to scream and yell, and as well as run around the small basket. "What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?" Pablo began. "Pablo," Tyrone said flatly, "we're all gonna fall off this cliff, and we're gonna fall to our deaths, aren't we?" Pablo continued. "Pablo," Tasha called out. "Then what's gonna happen to us? We're all gonna die, and no one's gonna find our bodies. They're probably gonna be bloated and—" "Pablo!" Austin yelled. Pablo immediately turned towards the purple kangaroo and began lashing out. "No! I'm not going to calm down this time!" Pablo yelled. "We're about to fall down into a giant waterfall and get torn to shreds by those giant rocks that are conveniently placed at the bottom of the falls. We're literally 5 minutes away from becoming roadkill. Why in the world should I even calm down? Why are you guys calmed down? Answer me that question!" "Pablo, look," Austin said. "We're not gonna die. The animators of the show wouldn't even allow that anyway." "Wait, really?" Pablo said with a hint of confidence. "Of course, Pablo," Austin said, patting Pablo on the back. "I'm quite assured that they're currently working on something to help save us at any minute now. Just take a look." And with that, Austin immediately pointed at the screen, to which the others immediately looked forwards. The scene then transitioned to show a live-action scene of the main viewing area in the studio that we use for editing. The scene then panned out and showed some of the animators and writers, including my own self, throwing a party and dancing around with the stereotypical party hats on, playing darts and drinking a lot of fruit punch, and laughing at a TV screen, which was playing the episode that I was currently describing at the moment. "Hey, you think we're gonna help them? Should we?" one of the animators said in a jokingly playful and kind of drunk manner. The response from the others, including myself, was a giant burst of laughter from the rest of the crew. Some even started rolling on the floor, laughing in the process. The scene then cut back to the TV screen, and then back to the episode itself, with all the Backyardigans looking rather upset and very freaked out. The camera then cut back to the episode again, with the Backyardigans still with their upset faces on them. Austin's hand started to fall to its side, and Pablo just stared at the screen with a look of anger on his face. The roar of the falls growing increasingly louder and louder as the scene progressed. "You sons of—" Pablo began, but it was immediately cut short when the basket that was containing all the Backyardigans fell out in the stream and down the falls. The scene then cut to show all the Backyardigans screaming as they plummeted down into the falls. Austin, on the other hand, immediately closed his eyes and focused. His hands immediately started glowing with a sharp purple aura around each of them. Then, without a single word, Austin blasted out his friends with the aura, causing them to immediately poof into a large purple cloud. Then, after he had done that, Austin closed his eyes and focused once more, where the scene cut to a part of the forest area, nearest the large body of water that was collecting from the waterfall, where one by one, all the Backyardigans began to poof in the air before falling onto one another. They all proceeded to groan a bit in pain before getting off of one another and sitting down in the beach area, if you want to call it there. "Oh, sweet, sweet ground, how much I've missed you," Pablo said as he started hugging some of the long grass in a tight embrace. "How in the world do we even manage to get all the way over here?" Tyrone asked the others. I don't know, but I... Tasha stopped mid-sentence and facepalmed. "Austin," Tyrone, Tasha, and Uniqua said in unison. Then in an instant, Tyrone, Tasha, and Uniqua's eyes all widened with fear before finally they all screamed out, "Austin!" "Guys, where the heck is Austin at?" Tasha said, panicking. "I don't know. Wasn't he with you the last time?" Tyrone said, pointing towards Uniqua. "I didn't see him with me. Pablo, is he with you?" Uniqua frantically asked. "No, I don't see him." Pablo's eyes then widened as well. "Oh my God. You don't think Austin..." Don't you dare say another word, Pablo! Uniqua snapped, which caused the others to recoil back a bit. Austin's powerful. He knows how to get himself out of these messes. He's perfectly fine anyway. He's just probably in another part of the forest. Tyrone just nodded his head, and then walked up to her. Uniqua, you need to understand something, Tyrone began. Austin may be powerful, but he isn't immortal. You saw how close we all were to hitting those rocks back there? Heck, if anything, the fact that he was able to teleport us out of there that quickly from the rocks was a miracle in and of its own self. And, well, you should know what has probably happened to him. The scene then cut to show Uniqua, now on the verge of crying her eyes out. And then it went over towards Tasha, who was now about to have a freak-out moment, which, of course, she did. Oh, for goodness sake, Pablo, you're a penguin! Get your butt in that water and find him! Tasha yelled. Wait, what? Pablo asked. Just do it, Pablo! Tasha snapped. Pablo simply jumped back at a little bit at that statement, and began to waddle his way over towards the pool of water was at. The camera then focused on the water for a few seconds before cutting to show Pablo about to jump into it. However, just as he's about to dive in and go looking for his friend, Austin suddenly emerged from the water's surface, taking in a deep breath of air as he did. The camera then cuts to show the shocked yet relieved faces of the other Backyardigans staring out at Austin. The scene then transitioned back over to the pool of water that Austin was at. He coughed for a few seconds before finally swimming over towards the shore and onto a large thicket of bushes that were conveniently placed into the scene itself. Pablo then proceeded to walk over towards where Austin was at, and with a bit of a shaky voice asked him, Huh, Austin, you're alive? Austin then turned to Pablo and stood up, the bushes covering a majority of his body at this process. Yeah, I'm fine, but holy heck, that was a nasty belly flop I did, Austin said, groaning as he rubbed his stomach. How in the world did you survive that? Tasha asked. Simple, Austin said. After I knew that you guys were safe, I used my powers to set up kind of a bouncy shield or something like that around me. I managed to bounce off the rocks without any extreme injury. However, Austin paused and immediately walked out of the bushes. He was holding his hands behind his back, wincing in pain as he stepped forward. His clothes were completely soaked through and through, and he was shivering from most likely the cold that he was going through. Despite being alive and everything, this happened. Lifting his hands from where they were positioned, Austin held both of them up, palms first, revealing a very nasty, and rather graphic I might add, series of deep cuts, bruises, and even a bit of blood coming out of some of the wounds. The other Backyardigans reacted in a way that I knew anybody's reaction would see, and seeing something like that. Complete and utter disgust and pain as they all cringed. I made sure of it in my notes to let the animators and stuff know that the imagery itself needed to be toned down a little bit in order to not get our asses handed to us by the higher-ups, or worse, angry mothers. So after writing all of that down, I got back into my laptop and continued on with the episode. Once the Backyardigans had finally finished recoiling in horror of what they were looking at, Uniqua went up to Austin and began inspecting his wounds. Those look pretty deep, Austin. We gotta go find those pups. They're the only ones that'll be able to help you with these things. Austin huffed a bit. You do realize, Uniqua, that it was those pups that got us into the situation in the first place? Austin yelled. Hey, it wasn't their fault that the rope snapped, Austin. Something else might have caused it to happen, Pablo interjected. Really now, Pablo, Austin began. Tell me then, how the heck does a solid, thick metal rope, or cord for that matter, snap like that? It doesn't. And either some things on Sky's plane managed to snap the rope, or someone or something is trying to kill us. The other Backyardigans rolled their eyes at that statement that Austin had given. Look, Austin, I'm sure that it was simply an accident, Tyrone began. But let's be real here. Who in their right minds would try and get us killed? Just as Tyrone had said that phrase, the scene cut to show the same robotic bird from earlier in the episode, specifically part 1, that was the one that cut the rope, chirping and perching itself on a small branch on a tree. The screen zoomed into the bird's eyes, who immediately started to zoom in and out like the camera lens that it had. The scene then cut to show the series of monitors showing different angles of where the Backyardigans were at. Then the scene cut to Mayor Humdinger slamming down on his desk in a fit of rage and anger. "Dang it, dang it, dang it! Weeks of planning ruined!" Mayor Humdinger then proceeded to hit a small button in the intercom. "Trevor, get in here! I need you stat!" Mayor Humdinger yelled. "Screw that!" Trevor answered back. "I'm not going back in there until you take a bath or something. You smell like you've been bathing in filth for a week." "Trevor, do as I say. You better help me, or I'll make sure to post those pictures of you at that Easter party last year on the internet. And I swear, I'll make sure of it that it goes #1 on trending too," Mayor Humdinger threatened. "Fine," Trevor grunted before the intercom was cut off. Mayor Humdinger then proceeded to keep staring at his monitors, the look of anger still being plastered on his face as he looked at it. Then, in an interesting turn of events, Trevor himself walked into the mayor's office wearing a full-on hazmat suit. "Really, Trevor? You're just being overdramatic," Mayor Humdinger said, rolling his eyes. "Hey, I'm not in the mood to die today, so unless you can clean yourself up, this suit ain't coming off," Trevor said firmly. "Ugh, fine, I don't care. Just come over here and check this out," Humdinger replied. The scene then cut to show Trevor making his way towards where the mayor was at, grimacing as he stepped closer towards the monitors. "Okay, I'm here." "Again, what am I supposed to be looking at?" Trevor asked, a bit concerned. "Do you not see the Backyardigans standing there, near the forest?" Humdinger asked. Trevor then let out a sigh of relief. "Oh, thank goodness, they survived," Trevor said gratefully. "No, Trevor, that's not a good thing. I specifically had that bird blast that metal cord in order to finally get rid of those brats. Yet it seems that even that couldn't do it right." Humdinger pouted. "Has anyone ever told you, Mayor, that you're a pretty sick monster for wanting to get rid of a bunch of kids because you don't like their show?" Trevor said. "So what? They deserve it for all the pain and agony they put me through." Humdinger replied back. "You do realize that you could have easily just, I don't know, turned off the freaking TV or something? Or better yet, walked into another room? Do you really have to go so far as murder to try and further your ridiculous plot of revenge?" Trevor called back. Yes, I do. And you're gonna keep on helping me get my revenge. Because I have a plan B to get rid of those pesky Backyardigans once and for all," Humdinger yelled out in a dramatic fashion. Trevor just furrowed his brow a bit, and then proceeded to walk towards the main doors that led into Humdinger's office. "You know something, Humdinger? No, I'm not going to stoop down any lower than I already have gone today. I've helped you sit there and nearly get a bunch of kids killed because of you. If you honestly think that I'm ever going to help you with the rest of this, you're dead wrong in so many ways. And I don't care if you post those pictures. It really doesn't bother me anyway. Heck, everyone posts stupid stuff like that on the internet all the time. So go on ahead and post it, because I'm done with this," Trevor yelled as he made his way over towards the door. The scene then cut back to Humdinger, who now had a rather sly and evil look on his face. "I don't think that'll be happening anytime soon, Trevor," Humdinger said in a rather confident voice. "How so?" Trevor snapped. "Because if you walk out that door, then the following's going to happen to you. Not only are you going to lose your internship with me, but I'll make sure of it that I let the deans at your university know about your little incompetent behavior as well. Not only that, but I'll make sure that the school itself knows about the violation of the contract that you signed when you started up this internship with me, which clearly states that if you terminate your contract in any way, then the school has no other choice but to expel you from the university. But to add the cherry on top of this wonderful little sundae, your contract violation will be spread out to every university in the country as well, so continuing your education would be completely pointless. You'll also be responsible for all the student debt you hold as well, and many jobs will most likely not hire you due to your contract violation as well. So to put it bluntly, you're pretty much going to be slaving away at some fast food job making minimum wage that'll be taken out of payment for your debt for the rest of your life. you'll have no home to go to, your future career will go down the toilet, and you'll be working a dead-end job for the rest of your life until you pay every cent of that debt that you owe. So face it, Trevor, I own you for at least another year or so. So if you quit now, then you can kiss your life goodbye, Humdinger threatened. The camera then went back to show Trevor, shaking with fear in his hazmat suit. He then lowered his head and down in shame and said, "Fine. What do you want?" The mirror then came back into view and then proceeded to lift up a large button that was connected with some wires. "Press this button and you'll be dismissed for the rest of the day, with a bit of pay as well. Refuse, and you know what will happen," Humdinger said. Without hesitation, Trevor immediately walked up to the button and proceeded to slam on it, activating something. "Thank you, Trevor. Enjoy the rest of your day off," Humdinger smiled. The scene then panned out to Mayor Humdinger's office, while a giant helicopter with a large crate tied down to it and dangling from the middle of the copter hung from below it. Once it reached the forest area, the crate immediately detached from the copter and fell down deep into the forest, before landing right in the middle of the empty patch of forest. Then the front door opened up and fell to the ground, revealing nothing but pure blackness inside of the crate. Then, a voice message came up. It was the voice of Humdinger. "Come in, Starcatcher. Can you read me?" "See," came an unfamiliar voice. "You know what needs to be done now, do you?" Humdinger asked. "See," the voice answered. "Good. You know what to do. Now go!" Humdinger called out before the radio cut out. Suspenseful music began to play out as the unknown voice from before said one final phrase before the episode cut out. "Come on, vamonos!" The scene then faded in on itself for a bit before finally fading back to show Sky landing at the dock that Captain Turbot was at. The other pups noticed her and began to run over to where the basket was at. "Oh boy, our friends are here!" Rubble said excitedly. The pups continued to bark and howl. That is, until they noticed that the basket itself was nowhere to be seen. Sky? Where's the basket at?" Chase asked, rather concerned. "What do you mean, where's the basket? It's attached to my pupmobile," Sky asked, taking off her flight gear. "Well, we don't see it here," Chase said once again. "What? No, it's there, I know it, I was carrying them all the way over here," Sky said as she made her way over towards where the basket was at, only to freeze as she saw that the basket wasn't attached to the cord. What happened?" Sky said, nearly freaking out. The scene then showed Chase making his way over towards the rest of the group with the broken part of the rope in his mouth before spitting it out on the ground. "I think the rope is cut," Chase said. Sky at this point was nearly in hysterics as she surveyed the rope that was on the ground. It seemed like she was going to have a panic attack soon. That is, until Ryder walked up into the scene and began comforting Sky. "Sky, it's all right," Ryder said, petting her. "We're going to find them and we're going to bring them back safely." Ryder then immediately turned towards the pups and with a serious look on his face said, "Okay, pups, this is what we need to do. Chase and Marshall, I need you pups to go out into the woods and see if you can try and find the Backyardigans. Get a pinpoint location of where they're at. Sky, I'm going to need you to be on aerial lookout as well. Try and see if you're able to spot them in any way. The other pups are going to stay with me here at Captain Turbot's deck. We'll still have a few things that we need to get done before we can get back to the base." "Yes, sir, Ryder, sir," Chase, Marshall, and Sky said aloud. "No job is too big, no pup is too small," Ryder called out. The scene then cut to show all of the pups, Chase, Marshall, and Sky, jumping up with joy before making their way back into their pupmobiles and starting them up. Just as they were making their way out of the shot, the scene cuts to show Sky with a rather anxious look on her face. "I hope they're okay," Sky whispered to herself before she started flying off. The scene then transitioned over to show all the Backyardigans making their way down a long path. They all look rather miserable, as the sound of buzzing mosquitoes could be heard and seen flying around them. The camera then cut to show Tyrone trying to swat them all away, to which it then cut to show Tasha flailing her hands all over the place to get the mosquitoes to stop biting her. Unique was just taking it for some reason, and Pablo was using his propeller cap to try and get rid of the bugs, and Austin was simply forming a faint aura around him that caused the mosquitoes that came near him to be burned up in an instant. The scene then panned out once more to show everyone stopping in their tracks and falling down on the ground in complete exhaustion. How much longer do we have? Tasha complained. No idea, but I think we're getting close, Pablo said. Pablo, we've been walking down this path for at least a good hour or so now. We're not getting anywhere near the town at this rate. Tasha groaned again. Well, hey, at least it's one good thing that's going for us, Pablo said with a smile. The others simply looked at him with a look of doubt before Uniqua asked, And what exactly is that? Pablo gave another smile before walking off screen with the sound of reggae music playing in the background. Pablo then began to start singing a song, specifically one line, before pointing to the others, who were all now sitting down at a tree together. Pablo saw this, and his beak furrowed into a frown as the music suddenly stopped. Guys, why aren't you singing? Pablo asked. To be honest, Pablo, with everything that's gone on today, we just don't feel like it, Tyrone answered. Aw, but why not? Pablo pouted. We always sing and dance. We're the Backyardigans. That's what we're known for. Actually, Pablo, that's not really the case, Tasha interjected. Oh, and how is that? Pablo quipped. The others immediately got up from the tree that they had sat on, and Tasha began speaking again. Pablo, you do realize that's in our theme song, right? Tasha said before she reached over towards the left side of the screen and pulled, showing the part of the intro with the lyrics below it saying, In the place where we belong, where we'll probably sing a song and where we'll maybe dance along. Once that ended, the clip itself nearly zipped back into the same direction where Tasha had pulled it. But, Pablo began before getting stopped. It's in our intro, Pablo. It doesn't say that we'll always sing a song or always dance along. It says that we'll probably sing a song and we'll maybe dance along, Tasha said with a small smirk on her face. Oh, Pablo said, deleted. But hey, Austin shouted out, we'll have a ton more to song to sing in the future, I promise. Pablo simply smirked, and with that, all the Backyardigans began making their way back down the path, as they had done before. The scene then faded in on itself for a bit, before coming back to show the Backyardigans now making their way down a small hill that was near one of the trees. They were all silent, before Uniqua decided to chime in on a conversation to try and break the silence itself. So, Austin, Uniqua began. Yeah, Uniqua? Austin answered as he carefully made his way up the hill. What did you see in that museum earlier today that caused you to puke? Uniqua asked. Austin immediately stopped dead in his tracks, which in turn caused the others to stop as well, as he was the one that was leading the group over said hill. So I guess that makes sense in retrospect. The young purple kangaroo immediately turned towards Uniqua, his face now mostly covered in a large red blush. Can we not talk about that, please? Austin stuttered. Why not, Austin? Tyrone said. It's not really appropriate, Austin said shyly. Austin, this is a PG-rated show. I'm sure if you give us one or two clues on what you saw back there won't be any kind of problems, Pablo chimed in. Austin simply said nothing for a few seconds before turning back and making his way down the hill with the others. For the next few scenes, it simply shows the other Backyardigans all continuously pestering Austin the exact same question about what he had seen at the museum, all which was promptly answered with a swift and firm no by the kangaroo. That is, however, until about a minute or two in the episode, it was asked one final time, to which Austin simply snaps at this point and describes everything. Fine, you want to know what I saw in that museum? I saw tons and tons of pictures of me, and only me, all over the place. Pictures, paintings, statues, yarn work, everything, Austin yelled. Okay, so what's wrong about that? Uniqua asked. It just means that a lot of people really like you. Oh, there is everything that's wrong about that place. It was like I was in Hades, burning eternally, Austin remarked. Okay, for the last time, Tasha began. What did you see that was so traumatic for you? Austin blushed once more, before sighing and stopping in his tracks. In most of those pictures and paintings, not to mention the statues, I wasn't wearing any clothes. In fact, I was pretty much naked for the most part, Austin admitted as his blush grew redder. That's it? Uniqua asked. What do you mean that's it? I was naked in those paintings, Uniqua. No clothes, in the nude, in my freaking birthday suit, Austin said, shocked. I honestly don't get what's so shocking about it, Austin, Tasha began. I mean, take a look at Pablo. Tasha then pointed over towards Pablo, which caused the screen to zoom in on him. He doesn't wear any kind of clothes at all. Well, maybe his little hat and bow tie, but that's it. Nothing else more. He's pretty much naked all the time, and nobody has any problem about that. Now, do they? Tasha said. Well, you got a point there, but still, Pablo has feathers that helps cover everything up about him, Austin said. Well, what about Tyrone then? Tasha asked, now pointing over towards Tyrone. He didn't used to wear pants all the time. In fact, for at least 4.5 years or so, he never wore pants. Just a shirt. I mean, sure, he's wearing them now, but again, nobody ever had a problem with that, Tasha said again. Austin didn't say anything at this point. He just simply stared and blushed some more. But still, it's not right. It's not appropriate for someone to make that kind of thing out of me like that, Austin said. It's wrong, Austin said once more. Pablo immediately quipped up, and with a cocked eyebrow said, Oh, come on, Austin. Like you don't sit there and look at that kind of thing yourself, Pablo interjected. Excuse me? What are you talking about? Austin asked rather suspiciously. Come on, Austin. I know what you look at in your little computer. I've seen it. I've been at your house numerous times to know what you sit there and you look at on that computer, Pablo said with a little evil grin on his face. Pablo, you better shut up right now, Austin said angrily. Let me ask you, Austin, how familiar are you with the Kangaroo Beach Girls online? Because it seems to me that you like to spend a lot of time on their little website, Pablo continued. Pablo, if you know what's good for you, you'll shut your beak. No! Austin said as his blush continued to go rapidly on his face. Although at this point it could have been both anger, or who knows. Not to mention the fact that they have a little private section there, and it seems to me that you've given them a good bit of your birthday money as well for some private shows, if you know what I mean, Pablo said. The scene then cut out to show the shocked faces of Uniqua, Tasha, and Tyrone. They just stared at Austin, their mouths open wide and their eyes big. The scene then cut back to show Pablo and Austin once again. This time, however, Pablo had a rather devious kind of look on his face, while Austin seemed to be a mix of embarrassed, freaked out, and a bit more than pissed off. Austin was about to say something at Pablo at this point, until the sounds of a little girl broke the awkwardness that was currently going on at the point. The other Backyardigans immediately turned around, to which the scene itself does the same. The camera then focused on the shadowy figure for a moment, before the figure itself steps out of the shadows of the woods and reveals itself. Well, more like reveals herself for anyone wondering what this person was. It was pretty much a knockoff of Dora the Explorer. No, I'm not joking around here. It looked almost exactly like Dora, with a few little tweaks. Specifically, the hair of its own stuff, instead of being brown, was black, the shirt was blue instead of purple, and of course she was wearing long jeans instead of her usual orange shorts. But she definitely looked a lot like her. And I think that a couple of people, from what I've heard, a few people actually managed to get the voice actor for Dora to play that part in the show. If anything, how awesome is that? What a good sport that voice actor was. Anyway, as she walks out of the bushes, the scene then cuts back to the other Backyardigans, who now have a mixture of shocked and a horrified expression on their faces. No, 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 no! This isn't happening! Austin said, clutching his head. What's wrong, Austin? Pablo asked. How in the Hades did she manage to get here? I thought we got that restraining order on her years ago, Austin said. Well, that was only for you, Austin, and more importantly, why do you hate her so much? If anything, she can probably get us out of this forest, Tasha said. Austin then paused for a few seconds, before turning towards Tasha with a rather angry look on his face. Hell, his eyes even started glowing purple at that point. She sucks. That's why I hate her. Secondly, have you seen her show? It's infuriating. It grates on my nerves and makes me want to go and stick my head in a beehive, Austin said. Oh, calm yourself down, Austin. the fake Dora replied. "I'll get you out of here in no time." Dora then immediately looked towards the screen and then asked her typical question. "Who do we ask for help if we don't know which way to go?" The scene then panned out to show the other Backyardigans looking around the place until Austin spoke up. "Who the heck are you talking to?" Austin asked. Dora simply stayed silent for a moment before finally responding with, "That's right, the map!" Dora called out. "To see the directions, you gotta say map!" The scene then cut back to the other Backyardigans just standing there next to the tree, until out of nowhere, Boots the monkey, or what looked like Boots, popped out of a bush behind him saying, "Say map! Say map!" "Holy crap, where the heck did you come from?" Pablo yelled. Soon enough, the map immediately popped out of Dora's backpack and proceeded to do his usual "I'm the map" song as usual. But before he could even finish his song, Austin's hand immediately reached into the screen and grabbed Map tightly in his paw before pulling him off screen. The scene then cut back to show Austin, now slightly more pissed off at this point, pointing the map closer towards his face. "Now you listen to me, and you listen to me good," Austin began. "You're gonna skip your cringy little intro and just cut to the chase on how to get out of the forest. You got that?" But, I'm the map," the map said, cowering. "You're gonna be on fire if you don't start talking," Austin said as he took a lighter out of his pocket and flicked it on, revealing a large flame. Okay, you go about a mile down the south of the forest, across the riverbank, and make a turn and make a left. Turn when you see the blueberry bushes. Please don't hurt me," Pablo, the map said, panicking. "Thank you," Austin said before crumbling up the map into a ball and throwing them into the water. "Dude, that was kind of messed up," Pablo said. "Come on, vamonos," Dora called out, not even remotely caring about what had happened to her map. The next scene goes on just to show how Dora the Explorer episode would normally go out, with the sole exception of the Backyardigans getting really sick of the constant singing. This goes on for at least a good few minutes, with the other characters getting more and more annoyed as it goes on, before Austin, in a fit of rage, summoned up a couple of his powers, and with the aura around his fist, punches both Dora and Boots all the way up towards his sun, with a small little sizzle at the end of it all. "Oh my god, she was so annoying!" Austin said, grating his teeth. "I agree with you 100% with you there, Austin," Tasha said. "Same," Pablo said as well. "Agreed," Tyrone and Iniqua both said in unison. After leaving to deal with the nonsensical garbage, the Backyardigans then proceeded to just sit down by another tree that led down another path to the woods. "How long has it been since we've been stuck in this woods?" Pablo asked as he took off his propeller cap and began fanning himself with it. "About a few hours at the most," Iniqua answered back. "When are those pups going to find us?" Tasha groaned. "Who honestly knows? My question is, who the heck decided that it was a good idea to have 5 preteens, well, 4 preteens and 1 teenager to be put in a basket to begin with?" Austin asked as he inspected the various cuts and wounds on his hands. "I don't know," Tyrone groaned. "Well, what should we do now?" Pablo asked the others. "I don't have any idea," Tasha answered. The Backyardigans then proceeded to let out a long sigh before the sound of a fire engine filled up the speakers on my computer, and yes, it was rather loud. The Backyardigans all jumped at the sound and immediately stood up and looked down the path where the sound was supposedly coming from. Tyrone was about to say something, but then Marshall's Pupmobile came into view, and then coming to a complete stop where the other Backyardigans were at. "Hey, are you guys alright?" Marshall said as he hopped up off his Pupmobile and made his way over towards the Backyardigans. "You're here! Oh, thank goodness you're here!" Tasha said. Marshall then proceeded to pull out a walkie-talkie from his pup pack. "Ryder, sir, we found the Backyardigans," Marshall yipped. "Awesome, Marshall. You go on ahead and check them for any injuries they may have. Then report to Town Square immediately," Ryder answered. "Yes, sir, Ryder, sir," Marshall called out. The talk itself had soon ended, and then the scene transitioned over to show the Backyardigans sitting down in Marshall's Pupmobile. Their bodies were covered in a large white towel. Heck, even some of their clothes had been changed into a pair of soft-looking jogging pants and sweatshirts, with the Paw Patrol logo embroidered on it. After a minute of Marshall driving down the wooded path, They all managed to make their way back into town and towards Adventure Bay Town Square. The scene then transitioned over towards Town Square, where the other Paw Patrol members, minus Marshall that is, Mayor Goodway, Ryder, were all waiting in the center of the town square, specifically near the mayor's office and the giant gold statue of Chiquilita. "You think they're okay, Ryder?" Skye asked, her ears drooping. "I'm sure of it, Skye. Marshall told me that they were all fine. Well, Austin's hands got cut up a little bit, but nothing completely serious," Ryder said. "Do you think that they'll be mad at me?" Skye said sadly. Ryder then bent down to Skye's level and then proceeded to pat her on the head. "Hey, look. What happened was an accident. Neither you nor them nor anybody else knew that was going to happen. I'm sure they're not angry with you at all, Skye. I'm sure that they'll forgive you," Ryder said with a big smile, which in turn perked up Skye. "Thanks, Ryder." After that little touching conversation, the scene then cut to show Marshall's Pupmobile driving down the street at a slow pace, with the Backyardigans in the back. Everyone who was there immediately started to cheer when the Pupmobile finally came to a full stop. The Backyardigans all got out of the Pupmobile and began making their way towards the other pups. "You guys okay?" Ryder asked them, rather concerned. "Yeah, we're fine. A little scuffed up, but fine," Tyrone answered. "You guys, I'm so sorry about what happened back there. I didn't know you guys would fall, and I just..." Skye began until Pablo interrupted her. "It's alright, Skye," Pablo began. "We know that it's not your fault. Although, we're still rather curious to know how in the world this all happened." Skye was about to say something, most likely a thank you or something like that, until an evil laugh of "who else?" Mayor Humdinger rang out, causing everyone to turn their heads off screen. The scene then zoomed past everyone, revealing a laughing Mayor Humdinger standing in the middle of the road. Where the heck did you come from?" Pablo asked. "Oh, that's none of your business, you little pest," Humdinger snapped. The rest of the Paw Patrol gasped at that statement that Humdinger had said. Excuse me?" Pablo said, confused. "You heard me, bird boy," Humdinger retorted with a snicker. The scene then cut to show the rest of the Paw Patrol looking rather angrily at Humdinger, and they began making their way towards him. "Okay, Mayor Humdinger, why are you here?" Chase demanded. "Oh, no reason, Chase," Humdinger responded back as he adjusted his bow tie. "I'm not buying that, Mayor Marshall said. "You're here for a reason, so why not spill it?" Mayor Humdinger simply smirked evilly, which caused the pups to step back a bit in fear. "Okay, I'm here to see your little guest over there," Humdinger said as he pointed towards the Backyardigans, who in turn looked rather surprised. "Might I ask why that's the case?" Chase questioned. "Well, seeing as how my little birdie failed to drop them to their deaths, nor my little friend of mine to drive them crazy or even lost deeper in the woods, I decided to come by and at least see my handiwork on these little monsters," Humdinger said with a growl at the end of his statement. Within an instant, everyone's jaws dropped at that statement, with the sole exception of Austin, who was now breathing heavily with rage. "Wait a good golly minute here," Mayor Goodway yelled out. "You're the one who caused that rope to snap?" "Oh, yes, I did," Mayor Humdinger said with a hint of glee in his voice. "Mayor Humdinger, that has to be one of the worst things you have ever done. You ought to be ashamed of yourself for hurting those poor children," Goodway scolded. "Yeah, they're our friends, and you wanted to hurt them? You're mean for doing that," Rubble called out. "My words exactly, Rubble dear. Now, Humdinger, you need to apologize for what you did to them now," Goodway ordered. The scene then cut back to Humdinger, whose face had now held a rather sad expression. He sniffled a little bit and then finally said, "Okay, you're right. I'm sorry." "Do you mean it?" Chase asked. "Yes, I do. I'm really sorry, Backyardigans. I'll never do it again," Humdinger responded back. Everyone, with the sole exception of the Backyardigans, all immediately started cheering and jumping around. This went on for about a good 10 or so seconds, before the screen cut to the Backyardigans, who looked about as pissed off as ever, looked around everywhere with a mixture of both of shock and wrath. "Austin?" Pablo asked flatly. "Yeah, Pablo?" Austin answered back with a slightly angry tone. You have that megaphone on you, right? Pablo asked. Always got it on me, Pablo, Austin answered as he went into his pocket and pulled out his infamous mini megaphone. Use it, the other Backyardigans said in unison. It'll be my pleasure, Austin growled. Taking the microphone by hand, he twisted the knob to the highest setting that he could go, and with one deep breath, he let out the loudest yell that had been recorded on the show so far. The shockwave from the sudden scream was so loud that it caused a good portion of the windows in the street that they were on to instantly shatter on impact. In fact, I'm actually a bit surprised that my windows didn't shatter with how loud they were. Once the screaming was completed, Austin placed the megaphone back into his pocket and began speaking. I don't know about you, Austin began, but I'm not buying that apology for 1 second. The screen panned out a bit to show everyone, specifically the Pups, Ryder, Humdinger, and Goodway, shaking their heads a bit, most likely recovering from the loud noise, and then turning towards Austin. But why not? Ryder asked. Do I even need to explain that? Austin began. You know, it makes me rather sick to know that somebody like you, Austin immediately pointed his claw at Humdinger, who simply took a step back at that gesture, would even think that doing something as messed up as nearly killing me and my friends was a smart move on your part. Why you haven't been arrested and thrown in prison is anyone's guess, Austin said before his eyes widened a bit at his own statement. Wait a minute, Austin began. Why isn't he in prison? Austin said as he turned towards the Pups and the mayor. Well, about that, Mayor Goodway said hesitantly. Austin immediately facepalmed at that statement. Please tell me you're joking, right? You're really telling me that Chase over there is the only actual police person here in this town? Austin said with a heavy amount of disbelief. That kind of sums it up, Austin, dear, Goodway answered. Okay then, Austin said as he gritted his teeth. Then at least have him sent to jail, at least, somewhere. Goodway began. You're not serious, Austin groaned. You're telling me that you don't even have a jail for him to go to? Especially after he caused me and my friends to go plummeting down from the sky and nearly fall to our death? Austin yelled out. Well, when you put it that way, Mayor Goodway said. You know something? Pablo interjected. Now I remember this place. Now I remember who you all are. You're that stupid show on TV that my niece watches all the time when she comes over to my house. I've even seen how you handle dealing with Humdinger over there too. After all the insane crap that guy has put those Pups through, and us as well, he's never once gotten in trouble because of it? Austin's eyes widened a bit at that info that had just passed from Pablo's beak, and needless to say, this only made him angrier. So let me get this straight, Austin growled. You can sit there and spend thousands and thousands of dollars on a giant gold statue of your stupid pet chicken, yet you don't think for 1 second to actually build something that, I don't know, could have kept that monster over there from causing trouble? The scene cut back to Mayor Goodway, who was about to say something but simply lowered her head in shame. Not only that, but what the heck is it with the townfolk here anyway? Pablo began. You people are about as dumb as bricks when it comes to dealing with even the basics of situations. The other town residents who had gathered into the town square, specifically Captain Turbot, Farmer Yumi, and the others, actually stood there in disbelief and shock while the Pups' mouths just simply hung agape in shock. I've seen some of the most ridiculous things that you've all called the Pups to help you with. But the dumbest one that I think I've seen so far was when a bunch of coals got into the corn, and instead of doing the logical thing and, I don't know, pushing them away with your boot or getting some water and dousing them, you decided to waste your time by calling them up, and then in the end, wind up losing a good portion of the corn being turned into popcorn. Pablo called out again. You know something, Pablo? That is rather stupid, Tasha said, while the others nodded their heads in agreement. And I have my own little say in this humble little town, Austin spat. I love it how you all think it's rather nice to have a bunch of pictures, drawings, and even statues of me completely in the nude. The scene then cut out a few times to show the shocked and rather embarrassed looks on some of the townspeople's faces, with a few gasps here and there in the process. You people really have a sick mind, you know that? If you think that having pictures like that in an art gallery of me like that really shows... Ugh, it's disgusting. But seriously though, you're all a bunch of sick perverts, Austin yelled. Austin then turned towards Humdinger, who again took a step back in fear. And you, Austin growled as he made his way towards Humdinger in a threatening way. You're the worst of them all, Austin began. Oh, and how so? Humdinger mockingly asked. You put my friends' lives in dangers. Not once, not twice, but 3 times today. And if there's one thing you don't do, you don't hurt my friends, and you don't hurt my family, and you've hurt both of them today, Austin said, his anger coming out in the last few lines. I know you're not really sorry for what you did. You're just saying that so you can get off scot-free again. Well, guess what, buddy? That ain't happening today. You might not be going to jail, but by the time I'm done with you, you'll be begging me to send you to prison. Mayor Humdinger looked down at Austin with a rather shocked look on his face for a brief few seconds before he started to giggle, and then soon he started to laugh hysterically. The scene cut back to Austin, who had a rather angry yet confused look on his face. You know something? You're actually right. I'm not sorry for what I did. In fact, I was never sorry to begin with. Yeah, I tried to get rid of you and your little friends over there. You wanna know why? Because you're all annoying, childish, spoiled, tone-deaf little brats, Humdinger yelled. At this point, the faint purple aura was starting to surround Austin, growing darker and thicker as the mayor continued to mock and berate him and his friends. But what's really funny is the fact that you think for a single second that you can do anything to me. What are you gonna do about that, little Joey? Humdinger mocked. What did you just call me? Austin growled as his eyes went from their black color to the purple, orange, and red hue that we've all known and loved. You heard me, little Joey. What are you gonna do about it? You gonna hop around me with your hind legs? Or are you gonna get your boxing gloves and have a boxing match with me? Or better yet, are you gonna try and roast me over an open grill like shrimp on a bobby? Humdinger said, laughing, even louder than before. Austin was getting rather pissed off at this point. And honestly, could you really blame him? And it seemed like he was about to snap at any moment, before the mayor immediately stopped laughing and said in a serious tone, No, you aren't. 'Cause you're nothing else more but a small little purple freak, Humdinger growled as he gave a swift and hard kick to Austin's groin. Everyone who was surrounding the place immediately gasped in shock at this. Hell, I mean, who in their right mind hits an 8-year-old kid in the groin like that? I definitely made sure to mark down some more notes to try and tone down on the violence a bit before I continued watching the episode. Once I had finished with that, I unpaused the episode and continued. The scene cut back to show Austin, now groping his groin a little bit in pain, most likely still going through the shock of it all, before he immediately stopped wobbling around and then walked back up to Humdinger threateningly, completely and utterly unharmed. What the hey? Humdinger said, shocked. How are you able to take that? People would be writhing on the floor by now if I kicked them with my shoes. Austin didn't say anything at first, but instead, his aura grew thicker and thicker around his body. Then, without a single word, Austin grabbed Humdinger's collar and pulled him close to his snarling and angry face. Austin gave a soft smile before whispering, I'm a kangaroo. Let's just say that my specific parts are flipped up to side down, if you know what I mean. So your little kick didn't do anything. Then, in an instant, Austin swiftly punched Humdinger high up in the air in under a second, followed by Austin himself flying up to where Humdinger was at the same speed. The scene then cut to show Humdinger screaming loudly as he continued to quickly fly past the Earth's atmosphere, before finally stopping to a dead halt. Humdinger immediately turned his head towards Austin was at now. Austin had a rather sadistic yet satisfied look on his face as he held Humdinger by the very tip of his shoelace. "You just had to push me now, did ya?" Austin said. "You couldn't have just kept your mouth shut? It probably would have done you some good. Maybe I'll rip out your tongue. Maybe then you might shut up for once." Then with a small flick of his wrist, Humdinger began to fall down towards the Earth's atmosphere at a high speed, screaming all the way down. Austin simply fell around with him, smirking at the screaming mare as he plummeted towards the concrete floor. "Please, please save me!" Humdinger screamed loudly. "You know, that's exactly what my friends and I were thinking when we fell down that river that you put us in," Austin said slyly. "I'll do anything, I swear, please! Please just don't let me die!" Humdinger said in a pathetic voice. "You know something? There's gonna be a bit of a mess when your body hits the ground. In fact, if you don't explode instantly from the impact, then I think a few people will possibly be able to recognize your face with all that red being splattered on the ground," Austin said sadistically. "Please!" Humdinger cried. "Okay," Austin said as he grabbed at Humdinger's shoe for the second time, making it nearly inches away from Humdinger hitting the concrete floor. He immediately started to thank Austin for saving him, but stopped immediately when Austin said, "Oh, I'm not done with you. You got a lot of time to think about what you did today. And while I will spare your life, even though I shouldn't, if you ever threaten to hurt me or my friends ever again, the next time you're not going to be so lucky. In fact, if you even remotely try doing anything else to me or anyone else, if you even mess with those pups, I will find you and I will splatter your body all over the pavement. You got that?" Austin then screamed as he punched Humdinger straight in the jaw, causing him to go flying out of the distance until the scene cut to the inside of Mayor Humdinger's office, where Humdinger had crashed into it through the ceiling, with a few pieces of the ceiling falling on a few of his computers and cell phones, smashing them to bits. The scene that panned over towards the left revealed Trevor looking down in glee at what he was looking at. "I'm free!" Trevor yelled as he spat on Humdinger's face and made his way towards the exit door, never to be seen again. The scene then transitioned back towards the Pup Tower, with all the pups, riders, and the Backyardigans making their way back to the main tower. "Oh, that was certainly an interesting day, wasn't it?" Ryder said. "Oh, you bet it was," Austin replied back. "Again, we're all really sorry about what happened to you back there," Chase said. "It's fine," Austin interrupted. "Same here," Pablo interjected. "Well, that's good. You know, it's been a while now. How about you guys come inside for a snack? I'm sure you guys must be really hungry after all that insanity," Ryder said. "That sounds great right now," Pablo answered. Then the background music for the ending theme song started to play in the background, signaling that the episode was nearly over. "That was certainly a really dangerous and messed up adventure, don't you think?" Tyrone said. Every one of the Backyardigans agreed, and just as they were about to start their little end song dance sequence, Ryder called out to them, "Hey, if you don't mind, is it okay if the pups join you? They've really wanted to do this with you guys for quite some time," Ryder asked. "Well," Pablo began. "I don't see why not. Get in here," Pablo called out in excitement. The Paw Patrol group cheered, and like clockwork, the Backyardigans and the Paw Patrol started to sing the ending theme song together, specifically the Backyardigans one, which was actually rather pleasant. I thought it would be a little bit too overbearing, but it worked out fine. It was pretty nice, too. The song then concluded with all the Backyardigans making their way towards the Pup Tower, saying goodbye to the camera as it slowly panned out. And with that, the episode faded to black and finally ended. Well, like I said before, that definitely took me a lot longer than expected. But hey, I won't lie, it was certainly a good way to conclude that one. I also want to apologize again for the massive delay. I was really busy. It was really busy for all of us to get back working on the project. Thank you guys again for the support. Keep on supporting everything that we keep doing, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next update. Very, very soon, hopefully.